Husband refused to support me through my anxiety diagnosis and told me he stopped loving, so I agreed to separate. But he kept giving mixed signals, tried using me for intimacy, and when I finally met someone who treated me right, he went crazy. About 8 months ago, I, 36F, got diagnosed with anxiety disorder and depression. The doctor said it was probably triggered by everything that happened during the pandemic, but honestly, it had been building up for years before that. I started going to treatment right away. I take medication every day and see a psychiatrist once a month to check if the meds are working. The real problem started when my husband Mike, 37M, began treating me differently after my diagnosis. Whenever I had a bad day with my anxiety, he would leave the room. I'm talking about the kind of days where I couldn't stop my hands from shaking, or when my chest felt so tight I thought I was dying. On those days, I needed someone to just sit with me, maybe hold my hand or tell me it would pass. Mike refused to do any of that. He told me multiple times to call my friends instead or wait until my next appointment with the psychiatrist. He said he couldn't give me what I needed and that I should deal with it on my own. But then when I did what he suggested and stayed in our bedroom by myself, he would come in and start arguing. He accused me of ignoring our children and being rude to everyone in the house. I tried explaining that isolation was part of my condition, something my doctor had warned us about. Mike didn't care. He said I was using my diagnosis as an excuse to be a bad mother, so I tried the other thing he suggested. I started meeting my friends more often, going out for coffee or dinner when I felt the walls closing in. My friends were actually really understanding, and it helped to talk to people who didn't make me feel broken. But then Mike got worse. He started asking where I was going and who would be there. One night I came home from dinner with 3 girlfriends and he was waiting by the door. He asked if there were any men at the restaurant. I told him it was just us girls and he said I was lying. He accused me of looking for someone else because I wasn't satisfied with our marriage anymore. No matter what I did, Mike found a reason to argue, and he wouldn't stop until I completely broke down. I'm talking about full panic attacks where I had to take an extra pill just to calm down enough to breathe. After I took the medication and was lying in bed trying to recover, that's when Mike would suddenly become nice. He would sit next to me, put his arm around me, tell me he loved me. The next morning, he would act like nothing happened and say he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me. I started thinking maybe he wanted to end the marriage, but was waiting for me to be the one to say it. I had no energy left to keep trying. Between managing my condition and taking care of our kids, I was completely drained. About 3 months ago, I asked Mike to come with me to see my psychiatrist. I thought if a medical professional explained anxiety disorder to him, he might understand what I was going through. The appointment was supposed to help him see that my behavior wasn't personal and that I wasn't choosing to be this way. Instead, Mike spent the entire session criticizing me. He told the doctor I wasn't getting better fast enough. He said he was tired of dealing with my. Then he looked at the doctor and said he didn't think our marriage could work anymore. Just like that, in front of a stranger. The psychiatrist didn't know what to say. She looked at me and I could see the concern on her face. I started crying right there in the office. Mike got angry at both of us. On the drive home, he yelled at me for taking him to what he called couples counseling without his permission. I tried to explain it was just a medical appointment, but he wouldn't listen. The next day, I was still trying to process what happened at the doctor's office. I kept replaying his words in my head. That night, after the kids went to bed, I walked into the living room where Mike was watching TV. I stood in front of the screen and asked him one simple question: "Do you still love me?" He stared at me for what felt like an hour, but was probably only 30 seconds. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He looked down at his hands. I waited. He still said nothing. I took off my wedding ring and put it on the coffee table. I told him we were done. I couldn't stay married to someone who couldn't answer that question after 12 years together. That's when Mike finally reacted. He started crying harder than I had ever seen him cry before. He said he was sorry. Then he admitted that no, he didn't love me anymore. He said my anxiety had destroyed his feelings for me. He actually used those words, destroyed his feelings. I went to our bedroom and lay down. Part of me wanted to scream or throw things, but mostly I just felt this huge weight lift off my shoulders. I had been the only one fighting for us, and now I could stop. I could use that energy for myself and our children instead. We had to figure out next steps. Neither of us could afford to move out right away, and we needed to think about the kids. We agreed to separate, but stay in the same house temporarily. Mike would move into his office, and I would take the main bedroom. We decided to hire a mediator to help us work out the separation details and plan how to co-parent. Something strange happened after we made that decision. The constant arguing stopped. We were polite to each other. We could have conversations about the kids or household stuff without it turning into a fight. My anxiety attacks became less frequent. I was sleeping better. It was like all the tension had been released and we could both breathe again. A couple weeks after our separation agreement, we both had trouble sleeping one night. We ran into each other in the kitchen around 2 in the morning. We started talking about random things, nothing serious. We ended up sleeping together. I know it was stupid. When I woke up the next morning, my first thought was that maybe we could fix things after all. Maybe the separation was the wake-up call he needed. But the next day, I knew I had to shut that thinking down. I told Mike we couldn't do that again. I explained that I still had feelings for him, and it would destroy me to be physical with someone who didn't love me back. He nodded and said he understood. We had our first mediation session a few days later. The mediator was this older woman who had been doing family mediation for 20 years. Both of us cried during that session. She listened to everything and then gave us very clear instructions. She said we needed to stop all physical contact, including the quick hugs we still did sometimes in the morning. She said we needed clear boundaries or we would keep hurting each other. She told Mike he needed to clean out his office so I could move my stuff in there and have my own space. We both agreed. Mike took a day off work the following week. I assumed he was cleaning the office like we planned, but when I got home that evening, nothing had been moved. He told me he spent the day thinking and that he was having an internal fight. He said part of him didn't want us to separate, but he knew it was necessary. I reminded him that this was his choice because he was the one who stopped loving me. He didn't argue with that. A week later, I got messages on Reddit from someone I had been chatting with about books. His username was similar to a friend of mine named Jake, who I was planning to see at a birthday party that weekend. Mike saw the notifications on my phone while I was making dinner. He asked if I was talking to Jake. I explained the username mix-up, but he looked uncomfortable. He asked if I was flirting with anyone. I said no. The night of the birthday party, I stayed out later than planned. It was nice to be around people who weren't walking on eggshells. When I got home around midnight, Mike was still awake. Later that week, he tried to initiate sex. I said no. The next morning, I asked him what that was about. I asked if he was confused about his feeling. He said no, he was just horny, and it didn't mean anything. I told him that was disrespectful. He knew I still had feelings, and he was willing to use me anyway. Around this same time, I started looking at furniture for the office that would become my new room. I sent Mike links asking his opinion on whether a certain bed frame would fit. He found problems with every single op. Too big, too expensive, wrong color. I asked him when he was planning to move his desk and filing cabinets out. He said he would get to it. Days passed and nothing changed. I asked him directly if he was having second thoughts about separating since he kept delaying everything. He said no, he was just being lazy. Then he suggested I should clean out his office myself if I was in such a hurry. I reminded him the mediator said this was his responsibility. He got angry and told me I was making things complicated. Update 1. We had our second mediation session yesterday, and I finally brought up everything Mike had been doing. The mediator asked me to give specific examples, so I told her about the internal fight comment, about him trying to sleep with me after seeing messages on my phone, and about him blocking all my furniture choices while refusing to clean the office. She turned to Mike and her whole tone changed. She told him there was no going back now. She said he made his choice clear when he said he didn't love me anymore, and that his behavior was confusing me and giving me false hope. She said it wasn't helpful and he needed to stop. Mike started crying. He apologized to me right there in the session. That night, after we got home and put the kids to bed, I had one of my bad episodes. The kind where I can't get my brain to stop racing and my whole body feels wrong. This time, Mike didn't leave. He helped me to bed, brought me water and my medication, and sat with me until I fell asleep. When I woke up the next morning, I heard noise coming from his office. He was packing. He spent the entire weekend clearing everything out. On Monday, he went to the furniture store by himself and bought a mattress for my new bed. He said he didn't want me to have to wait or do it alone. He helped me measure the space and move all my new furniture in. I realized the mediator calling him out in that session made everything real for him in a way my words never could. Our next big task is telling the kids. I've been putting it off because I don't know how to explain this in a way that won't scare them. I contacted their school counselor to give the teachers a heads up that the kids might need extra support soon. I also found a child psychologist who specializes in helping kids through divorce. The office-turned-bedroom is actually nice. I painted one wall a light blue color and got some plants. It's starting to feel like my own space. The kids have been asking why I'm sleeping in there now, and I've been saying I wanted my own art room. That excuse won't work much longer. Mike's parents know about the separation. His mom came over last week and pulled me aside. She told me she was sorry for what her son was putting me through. She said Mike's father was the same way, always hot and cold, and that it took her years to leave. She said she could see I was trying my best. That conversation meant a lot. Work has been going better. I'm able to concentrate during meetings now. My coworkers have noticed I seem more relaxed. One of them asked if I changed my medication. I just said things at home were more stable. I met with my psychiatrist last week and told her about the separation. She said my symptoms had improved significantly over the past month. She thinks I might be able to reduce my medication dosage in another few months if things continue this way. Mike has been going through his own process. He's been crying a lot. He stopped sleeping well. A few times he's tried to talk to me about calling off the separation. He says he made a mistake and wants to work things out, but I've been through too much to go backwards. When he gets like that, I remind him why we're doing this. I give him a hug if he needs one, but I won't let him kiss me. I've learned to separate my actions as his co-parent from my feelings as his ex-wife. Last Saturday, I went to a birthday party for one of my old college friends. I didn't plan on drinking much, but the wine kept flowing, and I stopped counting after the fourth glass. There was this guy there named Tom. He used to work with Mike about 5 years ago. They weren't close friends, just people who knew each other from the office. Tom and I ended up talking for most of the night. He told me he got divorced 2 years ago. His ex-wife told him she didn't love him anymore, similar to what Mike told. We talked about how strange it is to hear those words from someone you built a life with. Tom was easy to talk to. He didn't treat me like I was fragile or broken. Around 11 o'clock, he asked if I wanted to go outside for some air. We stood on the back patio and he told me he thought I was interesting. Then he tried to kiss. I pulled back immediately. I told him I couldn't because he knew Mike. He said Mike and I were separated and it shouldn't matter. I said it mattered to me. We talked for another hour out there. He held my hand and said he really liked me. I was drunk and it had been so long since anyone looked at me that way. I kissed him. I didn't check my phone all night. When I finally looked at it around 1 in the morning, I had 7 missed calls from Mike. He had also called my friend whose party it was. She told him I was sleeping at her house. I didn't get home until almost 7 the next morning. Mike was waiting in the kitchen. He asked where I had been. I told him that was my private business. His face got red. He asked if I was with someone. I said that wasn't his concern anymore. Over the next few hours, Mike went through all my social media accounts. He found the messages between me and my friend where she offered to cover for me. He sent her nasty messages calling her a liar and saying she was helping me cheat. Then he found Tom on social media and sent him messages too. He called Tom a backstabber and other names. Mike even made a fake account pretending to be a woman and tried to message another guy he thought I might have been with. When I found out about all of this, Mike told me I was acting like an immature 20-year-old and needed to grow up. Later that day, Mike broke down crying again. He begged me to give him another chance. He said he really did love me and he was wrong about everything. I told him I didn't believe him. After everything he had put me through, I didn't think he actually wanted. I thought he just couldn't handle seeing me move forward. I met up with Tom a few days later to apologize for Mike's messages. Tom said it was okay. He understood the situation was messy. Then he told me something I said when I was drunk that I didn't remember. Apparently, I kept saying I was too old for him and that I had a mother's body. Tom said he wished I could see myself the way he saw me. He said he found me attractive and interesting and he didn't care about any of that other stuff. He was leaving town for 2 months for work, but he asked if he could take me to dinner when he got back. I said yes. Update 2. Tom came back to town last week. We went to dinner at this Italian place downtown. The conversation was just as easy as it had been at the party. We ended up back at his apartment and I stayed the night. I drove home early the next morning before the kids woke up. Mike was in the kitchen. He could tell where I had been. He called Tom a home wrecker and said he was a bad influence. I didn't engage with any of it. 3 days later, Mike told me he had a date with someone new. Her name was Ashley. Within hours of their first date, Ashley had looked me up on every social media platform I had. She sent me a friend request on Facebook. The next day, Mike's whole attitude changed. He stopped being sad. He stopped crying. He was back to his usual self, making jokes and whistling while he made coffee. A few days after that, we had a check-in call with our mediator. Mike told her we were definitely better off separated, and he was sure about the decision. Just like that, after weeks of begging me to reconsider. That's when I understood. Mike's problem was never about losing me. His problem was being alone. The second he had someone new, he was fine. All those tears and apologies meant nothing. My work situation got bad around this same time. I'm finishing my master's degree, so I only work part-time. My supervisor called me in and said they had to cut my hours in half due to budget issues. I went from 20 hours a week to 10. The same week that happened, I got into a car accident. Our youngest daughter was in the back seat. A truck ran a red light and hit my front passenger side. The car spun and ended up facing the wrong direction. My daughter was screaming. I was shaking so hard I couldn't unbuckle my seatbelt. I called Mike and could barely get the words out to tell him where we were. He showed up 20 minutes later. He didn't ask if we were okay. He didn't check on our daughter beyond a quick glance. On the drive home, he complained about how this was going to affect our insurance rates. He said I should have been more careful. That night, when I told him about losing half my work hours, I started crying at the dinner table. He told me to pull myself together in front of the kids. Tom called me that night after the kids were in bed. I told him about the accident and about work. He asked if I wanted to meet him. We went for a walk around the park near his apartment. I cried and swore and said things I wouldn't normally say. He just listened. He told me to call him anytime, especially if I felt an anxiety attack coming. He said I could come to his place whenever I needed to get away and recharge. I didn't plan on getting involved with someone new while still living with Mike, but Tom has become the one stable thing in my life right now. We agreed we're not officially dating since my situation is so complicated, but Tom told me he's in love with me. He told his mother about me. He said he's not seeing anyone else and doesn't plan to. I believe him because his actions match his words. The kids still don't know about the separation. We keep putting it off because we need to present it together, and Mike and I can barely have a conversation anymore. His mother has been coming over more often. She's noticed how Mike treats me now. Last week, we all went to the library to return some books the kids had borrowed for a school project. Mike was supposed to return them earlier in the week, but forgot. When I reminded him about it, he said I should just do it myself. We were standing in the library entrance with both kids and his mother. He was so rude about it that his mother pulled him aside after. I heard her telling him he was acting just like his father used to and that the kids were going to notice. A few days after that, we were leaving a restaurant and our youngest started running toward the parking lot. I yelled to stop her. Mike immediately snapped at me in front of everyone. He said I needed to control myself and stop yelling. I told him I was preventing our child from running into traffic. He said I was overreacting. His mother was there again, and she looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything this time. When we got home, I asked Mike not to criticize my parenting in front of the kids. He said he would do whatever he thought was necessary. I told him that teaching the kids it's okay to disrespect me wasn't protecting them. He said I was wrong. When I pointed out that this kind of behavior is what people call parental alienation, he laughed and called me delusional. He said he has his own opinions about how to raise the kids, and if I don't like it, I can take him to court. We're not going back to mediation. Mike says it's pointless and he's done talking to a stranger about our problems. He refuses to go to any kind of family counseling either. So I've started looking into lawyers. I need to figure out custody arrangements and get everything in writing because I can't trust Mike to follow through on anything we agree to verbally anymore. Update 3, I filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. Mike got served with papers at work which he wasn't happy about. He called me screaming about how I humiliated him in front of his coworkers. I didn't respond to any of it. My lawyer said not to engage with him outside of written communication about the kids unless absolutely necessary. We finally told the kids 2 days after Mike was served. We sat them down together like we had always planned. We kept it simple. We explained that we were not going to be married anymore, but we both still loved them very much. Our oldest, who is 9, asked if it was her fault. That part hurt to hear. We both assured her it had nothing to do with her or her sister. Our youngest, who is 6, asked if we were still going to live together. Mike told them he would be moving to an apartment soon. Both kids cried. We all sat on the couch together for a while. After they went to bed, Mike and I stood in the kitchen not knowing what to say to each other. Mike found an apartment about 15 minutes away. He moved out last week. The kids stay with him every other weekend and one night during the week. I have them the rest of the time. The first weekend they came back from his place, our oldest told me that Mike's girlfriend Ashley was there. She said Ashley tried to make them pancakes but burned them. She said Ashley asked a lot of questions about me. I told my lawyer about the girlfriend being around the kids so soon. She said there wasn't much we could do about it unless Ashley was doing something harmful. Things have been quiet since Mike moved out. The house feels bigger. I'm still adjusting to the nights when the kids are with him. Tom has been coming over once the kids are with Mike. He's good about keeping his distance when they're home. We're taking things slow. He met my sister last week. She liked him. She said he seemed steady, which is what I need right now. My work hours got restored to where they were before. My supervisor apologized and said the budget issue got resolved. I'm still working on my master's degree and should be done by spring. My psychiatrist reduced my medication last month like she had hoped. The anxiety is still there, but it's manageable now. I can handle it without falling apart. Mike and I communicate through a parenting app now. Everything is documented. He stopped trying to argue about every little thing once he realized the app keeps a record of all our messages. We stick to information about the kids' schedules, school stuff, and doctor appointments. Nothing personal. His mother still calls me once a week to check in. She wants to stay involved with the kids, and I told her she's always welcome. She mentioned that Mike and Ashley already broke up. She said Mike told her Ashley got too clingy too fast. I didn't ask for details and she didn't offer any. It doesn't matter to me either way. I'm not where I thought I would be at 36. I thought Mike and I would be planning the kids' teenage years together and talking about empty nesting eventually. Instead, I'm learning how to be single again and figuring out custody schedules. But I can sleep through the night now. I can concentrate at work. I can be present with my kids without my brain screaming at me that something is wrong. The weight that lifted when Mike admitted he didn't love me anymore hasn't come back. That tells me I made the right choice.